Hello, friends. This is Professor Googler. On my channel, you mostly watch videos about the beautiful world around us. But today, it's a little different. What is it about? Keep watching to find out. The Beast is stuck. The Beast is the limousine that the American president uses as part of his motorcade whenever he goes somewhere on the road. And because the Beast carries such an important person who could be attacked, it has a number of enhancements that you won't see on any other vehicle. Namely aluminum, ceramic and steel armor, laminated glass, a sealed cockpit to protect against chemical attack, and even a backup blood supply in case the worst happens. Plus the limousine doors weigh as much as the Boeing doors, and as a result of these modifications, of course, the limousine is much heavier than a regular limousine. Some estimates say it can weigh over 10 tons. And sometimes this has led to some difficulties. Usually, when the president travels around the US, there are no problems because the country's roads are wide enough to accommodate a car and the Secret Service has plenty of time to check routes. But footage taken in 2012 shows problems on the narrow streets of other countries. When Barack Obama visited Ireland, he found himself in Ballsbridge with huge crowds waiting outside the US Embassy. They were eager to get a chance to see the Beast approaching the exit. Unfortunately, the gate through which they had to drive was not designed to accommodate such a long and heavy vehicle, so when the limo got stuck, a tow truck had to be called in to free the car. After the incident, the Secret Service claimed that the president was not in the car at the time he used another exit. But it was still an unfortunate incident that showed that no matter how modern and powerful a presidential car is, all its capabilities will be negated by a simple bump in the road. Trump's shoe. In addition to the benefits of being president, there are some serious sacrifices to the position. One of them is that you instantly become one of the most famous and photographed people on the planet, and your every move in public is watched by millions of eyes. Donald Trump found this out in late 2018. Journalists managed to capture footage of an unfortunate event that Trump would probably prefer to forget. The president had just given a speech, and arrived at the Minneapolis, St. Paul Airport to board a plane for his flight to Washington, D.C. The president had just given a speech, and arrived at the Minneapolis, St. Paul Airport to board his flight to Washington. Unfortunately, no one checked the president's appearance before he headed to the plane, and keen-eyed observers quickly noticed that Trump had a piece of toilet paper stuck to the sole of one of his shoes. As the politician climbed the stairs, the situation got worse and the paper fluttered more and more in the wind. Unsurprisingly, this story was the top story that evening. What's even funnier is that it wasn't the only time this has happened to Trump. Almost exactly a year later, he was photographed with a napkin on his shoe as he walked to a helicopter after a speech on Wall Street. It seems that to avoid this kind of embarrassment, Trump needs an aide whose sole job will be to check his shoes before the politician goes anywhere. Biden versus staircase. Presidents, of course, have busy schedules that take them to meetings, press conferences and important events all day long. And a significant part of these events involve traveling great distances, which would be difficult for ordinary people. Plus presidents tend to be generally not the youngest of people. So an active day can leave them feeling physically exhausted, which of course they would not want to show off in public. As the oldest president in US history, Joe Biden certainly has no shortage of examples of his occasional forgetfulness and fatigue. This video from December 2021 was shown around the world. In the morning, Biden boarded a plane to fly to Atlanta to meet with community leaders in the wake of the horrific mass shooting. But as he walked up the ramp, Biden managed to fall. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Fortunately, the president managed to regain his composure by the time he reached the top of the stairs and was able to wave and go inside. It was later announced that Biden was fine and unhurt, but in many ways the damage to his reputation had already been done. Obama takes the oath of office 4 times. Of course, the President of the United States is given a tremendous responsibility, and this does not only mean becoming Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and being responsible for making decisions that will affect every citizen in their daily lives. After campaigning through a particularly brutal election process, residents experience unity during the inauguration, when the newly elected president recites an oath in which he commits to the principles of governance. But this is not just a ceremony but an important constitutional process, so the oath must be pronounced accurately, and if it is not, everything must be repeated. Amazingly, Barack Obama actually had to recite the oath of office a total of 4 times, despite being president twice. It may seem embarrassing, but it didn't happen that way through no fault of his own. Obama remains the only president who has had to repeat the oath of office twice at the beginning of each of his terms, during the inauguration. On January 20, 2009, Chief Justice John Roberts made a mistake in the words he read out for the new president, and as a result they had to meet the next day, the 21st, to do it all over again. At the beginning of his second term, to avoid this mistake, the Chief Justice sent Barack Obama a card with the exact wording, but this time it was a completely different reason why the oath of office was said twice again. Traditionally, the swearing-in ceremony is held on January 20th, but in 2013 that date fell on a Sunday, so the public event was scheduled for Monday. So on the 20th, the President and the Chief Justice met privately to hold it on the correct date, and then they did it all over again the next day. Glowing spheres. Like all people in the public eye, presidents often find themselves having to pose for photos so journalists can capture important speeches and meetings. But in May 2017, Donald Trump found himself the subject of perhaps the most bizarre and awkward presidential photo shoot ever. He made his first stop in Saudi Arabia during an international trip. The main purpose of his visit was to strengthen relations between the countries, especially as it relates to eliminating international terrorism. And what better way to do that than by visiting the newly opened Global Center to Combat Extremist Ideology, where Trump was with Saudi King Salman and Egyptian President Abdul Fattah Khalil. Trump gave what will be remembered as the most embarrassing speech on Islam, but surprisingly not too controversial. There were plenty of other odd moments during his few days in the country, including the politician participating in a traditional sword dance and traveling to a Toby Keith concert in a golf cart with the Saudi king. But the strangest of all were the poses the 3 leaders took at the opening of the Anti-Terrorism Center. For some reason, in the center of the room stood a glowing globe that looked more like a balloon. All 3 leaders placed their hands on it, and images of the moment began to spread around the world. It was soon noted that it looked more like a photo of a team of villains plotting evil in their lair than a picture of 3 powerful leaders putting aside their differences on the world stage. Trump pushed the Prime Minister. Foreign leaders are not afraid to speak their minds when they talk to the President of the United States, and rightly or wrongly they expect that when they attend summits together, everyone will be treated equally. According to reports, there were heated discussions between the leaders behind closed doors, but, as is usually the case when such summits come to an end, all participants have to come out and stand in front of the cameras for a group photo. When Trump came out, he found himself behind the back of Duško Marković, who was Montenegro's prime minister at the time. Even though the proper position for the president is to stand in front, usually in such cases politicians will quietly ask to be led to the front. But in typical Trump style, he instead irritably just pulled Marković's shoulder backward. Friends, don't hesitate to write comments under the video about what else you would like to learn. I will definitely fulfill your wish. Bye for now.